It started with a phone call that was never meant to happen. No warning, no preparation, just a vibration on the screen and a decision that would erase everything that came after. One moment, everything was normal. Messages were still there. Connections were intact. Names still showed up on the screen. But minutes after that call ended, something felt off. Accounts went quiet. Conversations disappeared. People who were once reachable became impossible to find. This wasn't a glitch. This wasn't coincidence. And it definitely wasn't accidental. Because when someone has something to lose, silence becomes a weapon. What makes this situation chilling isn't just what vanished, it's how fast it happened. No gradual fade, no explanation, just instant disappearance like someone flipped a switch behind the scenes. And here's the part most people missed. The call itself wasn't explosive. There were no threats, no yelling, no dramatic confrontation. In fact, to anyone listening from the outside, it might have sounded normal. But what was said during those few minutes triggered a chain reaction that couldn't be undone. Within hours, screenshots were gone, DMs were wiped, blocks appeared, narratives began shifting, and suddenly the same people who once spoke freely had nothing to say. That's when the questions started. What was really said on that call? Why did everything disappear afterward? And who had the power to make it all vanish so cleanly? Because when the truth disappears this fast, it's usually because someone is terrified of what it might expose. And once you understand what happened next, you'll realize this wasn't just damage control, it was panic. To understand why everything vanished, you first have to understand the call itself. This wasn't planned, no scripts, no mediators, just two sides finally speaking after weeks, maybe months of tension building quietly in the background. Messages had gone unanswered. Energy had shifted. Something was clearly wrong, but nobody was saying it out loud. Until the phone rang. The conversation started calmly, almost polite. The kind of tone people use when they're trying not to reveal too much. But beneath the surface, both sides knew this call mattered. And then came the moment. A sentence was spoken that couldn't be taken back. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. But it referenced something that was never supposed to leave private conversations. A night, an interaction, a detail that contradicted the public version of events. Silence followed. Not the awkward kind, the dangerous kind. That's when the power dynamic shifted. Because once something private becomes verbalized, it exists. And once it exists, it can be repeated. The call ended shortly after. No resolution. No agreement, just a rushed goodbye. But what happened next is what raised alarms. Within minutes, activity stopped. Profiles went private. Messages that had been visible earlier were suddenly gone. And here's what's important. Deletion alone wouldn't have been enough, because screenshots existed, receipts existed. Other people had seen the messages before they disappeared. Which means what followed wasn't cleanup, it was containment. Someone realized the situation was no longer controllable through silence alone. So they moved fast, very fast. And when people move that fast, it's rarely because they're innocent. By the next day, it was as if the situation never existed. Names no longer showed up in searches. Mutual connections acted confused. Some claimed they never knew anything about it. Others suddenly stopped responding altogether. This is where manipulation often replaces honesty. Because instead of addressing the situation directly, the strategy shifted to erasing the evidence and reshaping the narrative. And it worked temporarily. Online, people began arguing over fragments, half-stories, cropped screenshots, contextless clips. The truth became diluted, which is exactly what happens when evidence is removed but curiosity remains. Meanwhile, one side stayed completely silent. No denial. No clarification. No explanation. Just disappearance. And silence like that isn't neutral. It's strategic. Because every hour without a response allows confusion to grow. And confusion weakens credibility on all sides, especially for the person still talking. But what many didn't realize is that silence also signals fear. Fear of saying the wrong thing, fear of contradicting deleted evidence, fear of reopening something that was almost buried. Behind the scenes, conversations were happening. Advisors were involved. Decisions were being made about what could and couldn't be acknowledged publicly. The goal was simple. Let time erase what deletion couldn't. But the internet doesn't forget, it just waits. Here, where the plan failed. People remembered. Not screenshots, memories, patterns, timelines, things that didn't add up once the silence stretched on. And when people start connecting dots, disappearance becomes suspicious instead of effective. Why block so fast? Why erase everything at once? Why not deny it clearly if nothing happened? Those questions kept growing louder. And the more silent one side stayed, the more credibility shifted toward the version that was still being spoken. Because here's a hard truth. If nothing happened, you don't need to erase evidence of it. The call had already changed the power balance. The disappearance only confirmed it. By trying to make everything vanish, attention was drawn exactly where it wasn't wanted. And that's the irony. The attempt to control the story became the loudest part of it. At the end of the day, this story isn't just about a call, missing messages, or sudden silence. It's about how truth behaves under pressure. When people are confident in their version of events, they speak. They clarify. They confront. But when everything disappears overnight, it usually means something said behind closed doors hit too close to reality. That call didn't expose everything, but it exposed enough to trigger fear. And fear is what caused the vanishing act. Now the question is no longer what happened. The question is, why was it so important to make sure nobody could see it? Because when stories disappear this fast, they tend to resurface louder, clearer, and harder to control. If you want more breakdowns like this, real situations, real patterns, and the psychology behind public silence, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what comes next. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the disappearance protected someone, or exposed them even more? Because once a call changes everything, silence can only do so much.